What's up, everybody? Welcome into Group Chat Football Live. I'm Peter Ariz alongside D Money. We have a loaded show for you today. A ton of big-time recruiting news and the transfer portal. It's starting to open back up now. Starting to hear of some names entering. But like I said here, D, some big recruiting news. Had a commitment last night that we'll get to in a moment. But I think the story of the day right now in the recruiting world, Chris Henry Jr., has shut down his recruitment, canceling other visits that he had potentially set up. We had heard Miami was supposed to visit there last weekend, did not make the trip, and announces today that he's shutting down his recruitment. And Chris Henry Jr., a lot of people look at him as the number one wide receiver in the country, headed to Ohio State, and that's not changing.
Yeah, so Chris Henry Jr., top 10 player in the country according to Composite, number 2 wide receiver in the country, number 2 player in California from the powerhouse Mater Dei, 6'5", 205, just an extremely fluid wide receiver at his size. That's really what stands out when you watch Chris Henry is for a 6'5" receiver. A lot of times those guys are going to struggle getting in and out of their breaks. That's really where he actually thrives. Just very, very quick, coordinated, and fluid. I can tell you a lot of, just started with Miami. I know Miami expected him on campus this past Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago. It was pretty far along. Ultimately did not make that trip. Appreciate you, Billy Tuesday. There he is. He's fired up. Expected at Miami. They did make that trip. Oregon, we know they got the court more last year. They got Dante Moore at quarterback. They got a lot going on in the passing game. They are hitting the ground running, but they were not able to get over the hump with Chris Henry. USC, of course, he's at Mater Dei. That is a traditional USC program. They made a huge effort to keep local guys. And I know he's bounced around, but let's just call him local because he's playing at Mater Dei. They've been trying to keep California kids home. They've done a lot with Polynesian players. Chris Henry's actually partly of Polynesian descent. So, a lot of things pointed towards USC making a strong run as they really ramp up their recruiting efforts. And ultimately, none of that mattered. He ended up staying with Ohio State, which it's fair to call a wide receiver U, whether it's Ohio State or LSU. Somebody's going to have that title. LSU got Tristan Keys, who some people consider the number 1 receiver in the country. A lot of other people think it's Chris Henry. He shuts down his recruitment and says, I am not going anywhere. I am going to remain with the Ohio State University. There you go. Billy's mentioning it's true. He is from Ohio, plays at Mater Dei now. So I said, you call him a local kid, they have more accessibility to him at USC, but he's originally an Ohio kid. So ultimately stays home. But I think more importantly than that, he is playing at the school that has been producing first-round receivers for so many years. This year, Buka, that guy's, to me, a first-round type player. And then, of course, Jeremiah Smith, in 2 years, probably going to be a top 5 pick. So no shortage of great receiver play at Ohio State. Chris Henry will slide right in.
And a big couple days of news for Ohio State because Blaine Bradford at safety, he committed yesterday as well. So not a bad little stretch here for them.
Not bad at all. This is somebody who I think is, you talk about impact guys, 5-star guys. Between Bradford and Henry, these are 2 guys at the top of the food chain. Sorry if my mic was a little fuzzy before. I just fixed it. Thanks for the heads up, Peter. So these are guys that are on top of the food chain at their respective positions. I think with Blaine, you get the physicality, the urgency, just the tone setting that you saw with Ohio State safeties and linebackers this year. Guys like Ransom were just so physical, set a tone. Henry, much more in line with like a Marvin Harrison and some of the, no, I don't compare him to Jeremiah Smith, but just the taller, more acrobatic wide receivers with the ball in the air. And again, Henry's superpower, if he has one, and he has a few, but I think the biggest one is the quickness in and out of breaks and fluidity with that 6'6" frame, which quite frankly, his dad had that as well when he played for West Virginia.
So looking at Ohio State's commit list right now for the 2026 class, ranked number 7 on the composite rankings, 8 commits. And again, Chris Henry, not a new commit, but it almost feels that way with today's news and some of these other teams that were lingering there. And it's an elite bunch, right? I mean, you have guys here, as you see, with Henry, with Blaine Bradford up top, Sam Greer, a recent commitment at tackle that you and I are big fans on. We've spoken about on this show. as well. So it's early, but good start for Ohio State. You wouldn't expect anything less for the defending champs.
Yeah, I was going to comment on Sam Greer, one of our favorites. We love basketball highlights. When you see Sam Greer blocking shots, playing as athletically as he does as a future offensive tackle, you love the profile. But look, this is what Ohio State does. A tall 5-star wide receiver that can make plays. No, nothing new.
Ohio State fans, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support. As always, I think our best video ever is an Ohio State video. So you guys bring the love here for sure. So again, hit that like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have you guys covered all off season long leading into the season. You guys are the, everyone's going to be coming after the crown now. So excited to watch the Buckeyes this year. So moving along here, another recruiting story. I alluded to it. Happened last night. Javari Flowers commits to the Florida Gators, recently reclassified to this Class D. So this is a player for this recruiting class, meaning I guess I should say the one that just passed, but he's going to be enrolling here at Florida in the summer. So this is a player, elite speed, big time return ability. I think we can both agree that he's an impact player there right away. But I think if you're a Gators fan, you got to be excited about some of this recent recruiting momentum from the high school side.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're so far past the 2025 class. This is a 2025 player, even though he was ranked and expected to be a 2026 player, reclassified. This is a legit reclassification. Flowers was 19 years old, or is 19 years old. So it's not like this is somebody skipping a grade. He's actually kind of recalibrating, getting back to his normal grade. And even with the reclassification, still a top 100 player on the composite. 247 has him as the 82nd ranked player in the country, number 12 corner in the country, and number 12 player in the state of Florida. 5'10 and a half, 165. I've seen him in person. Not the longest guy. He's kind of got, if he's 5'10 and a half, he's got a 5'10 and a half person's wingspan. He's not one of these short guys that has super long arms, but I mean, that's the average size, and he's not skinny. I'd say he's closer probably he'll get to 180, 185 when it's all said and done. But the story with this dude right here, 10.43 in the 100 meters. He's a state champion there, 20.91 in the 200 meters, 20 plus long jump. And on top of that, he's a very good football player. And I think what you're seeing here is where you are going to see Javari Flowers make the quickest impact for the Florida Gators, which is this guy is an elite returner. He is somebody.
Well, that was a pick. That was a pick
okay.
6, I think.
All right, I got ahead of myself.
So but he's got the ball skills. You see the ball skills as well. So
I got ahead of myself there. Well, here you see him returning, and same result.
It was a pick 6, so you see the return ability either way on the return.
Yeah.
Here's a punt return.
This is what he does, man. I mean, he is one of the absolute best punt returners we've seen in the state of Florida in quite some time. The speed. Some people have speed. And some people have football speed. This guy has both, and he has quickness as well. He has instincts. As a corner, I think he's much more like a nickel. Saw him at the OT 7-on-7, and definitely has more of that nickel profile. He's an instinctive guy. Played very, very well at the Under Armour game, where he had participated as an underclassman. Now you have underclassmen playing in the Under Armour game. He played out there and did well. But right here, the kick return skills. I think you're going to see this guy year one return kicks to the house in the SEC. He's that type of guy. And
this is against South Florida speed, again, at the highest level in South Florida for those watching.
No question about it. And it's amazing. Florida has had a very, very interesting offseason because they spent a lot of money. They've made a big impact, but they've been much more focused to this point on the high school ranks than the portal. So their portal, they brought in some good players, Sturdivant at receiver, some nice talent, but they lost also some guys that can play. Your Jack Pyburn, Searcy. They lost quite a few front 7 type players without necessarily replacing them in the portal. Then recruiting wise, you got Dallas Wilson, probably one of the top players in the state of Florida, 5-star wide receiver, Javari Flowers, of course, at corner. Ben Hanks, who I think is the best corner in South Florida from a coverage standpoint. Vernell Brown, who's really, really kind of instant impact wide receiver with great intangibles as well as being a very good athlete. So I think you see much more work from a high school standpoint than a portal standpoint to surround DJ Lagway. With a guy like Napier who doesn't have the most rope as far as, he's had some rough seasons recently. And then you want to, if you're a Gator fan, you want to get the most out of Lagway's 2 years. Maybe it's longer, but let's just say 2 years if it goes well. I'm surprised they've been focused more on the high school ranks than the portal. But with Flowers, what I'll say is the kick return part of it, the punt return part of it, I think is going to impact the 2025 team in a major way.
Yeah, and you see, I mean, look, he's not the biggest guy, but his willingness to tackle and be physical too. It's one thing to say, well, he's not your prototypical corner size-wise, but if he's willing to get downhill and you're not going to ask this guy to be a run stuffer necessarily, but he plays with that mentality that you want to see at the position.
Yeah, no question about it.
You see it right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right?
He's a football player, so that's why I think nickel for him. He can also do some of this. Talk about two-way guys with Travis Hunter being all the rage. I don't think Flowers is that. He doesn't have those kind of ball skills, but reverses, things like that, he's capable. Our boy Sergeant Morhew, we thought we lost you and gone live in a while. So glad to see you back. We got some UNLV stuff in the hopper. We'll probably be talking about them pretty soon. But
big basketball hire for UNLV, man. Josh Pastner, I like that one.
Yeah, maybe we should be talking some basketball. That action is coming hot and heavy. But back to Flowers. Again, Florida Gators basketball is doing pretty good themselves. Back to Flowers. Again, you see him here on the punt return. The track speed is the last piece of this puzzle, but you see the tackle breaking, you see the lateral quickness, you see the vision to cut against the grain. He is a complete returner, and I think he will be one of the best returners, along with Barry and Brown, probably from LSU, at least on a kick return standpoint. He'll be one of the top returners in the conference day one. Great get for the Florida Gators. It's going to help not only their future, but their 2025 football team.
Here he is again on a reverse. So you see his two-way ability.
Yep. They call him J-Rock, coached by Teddy Bridgewater at Northwestern, state champions, and Calvin Russell, teammate at Northwestern, and also on the Miami Raw 7-on-7 team. Maybe that's someone that the Gators have more of an edge with now. They get J-Rock, Flowers, Syracuse, Miami battling there.
So keeping it moving here, our last topic for the day, and we're gonna have a lot of these updates here coming up in the next few weeks. We got a big name entering the portal, a quarterback, Drew Pyne, leaving Missouri, former Notre Dame and Arizona State quarterback, will have a year of eligibility remaining. What do you make of this, D?
Yeah, there was a report from a Missouri fan that Drew Pyne was leading the sweepstakes there, or the contest to be the starting quarterback. And I think some people were very taken aback by that post. A lot of people just said they didn't think it's true. I don't think it is true. Obviously, he's in the portal, right? When you look at that battle in Missouri, Bear Pribula, I'm a huge
Bo.
I was going to correct myself before you corrected me. I've messed up so many names on this show. It is like Cal Ripken. I don't think I've missed a show without a bad pronunciation. Bo Pribula, to me, is one of the breakout candidates. It's NFL draft time. We're looking at kind of quarterbacks that come out of nowhere, right? They're always there. He is one. We saw him run at Penn State, and we saw a little bit of passing from him, but he's somebody, I think there's just a lot more from him in the passing game that we have not seen. So big fan of Bo Pribula. I think he's going to be the favorite. Obviously, you got Sam Horn coming back from Tommy John with the UCL. That was about, let's say, a year and a couple months ago, February 2024, where he had that surgery. So he is now back and competing. Of course, you have Matt Zollers, who's one of the most exciting young players to me in last year's class, basketball player, super athletic. He himself is recovering from an injury. So there's a lot of talent. We did a whole video on the Missouri quarterback room just because it's a really, to me, an interesting one. We didn't really focus on Drew Pyne. It was much more about, Bo and Horn and Zollers, who, again, I think is going to be a spectacular player once he's at full maturation. But with Pyne, look, he played in 6 games last year for the Tigers, 3 blowouts. The Auburn game, which was a win for Missouri, but he did not perform particularly well. Alabama, the team got shut out. He struggled. And then Oklahoma had a really, really nice game, really nice quarter, really. 3 touchdowns. Didn't get 51% completion, but got the job done, made some plays. And that was a game that Missouri won and needed to win. So, veteran quarterback, if someone just needs a stopgap, he's a guy who's been around the block. Certainly, when you look at just the schools he's been to, the fact that he started off his career at Notre Dame, then went to Arizona State, now with Missouri. So he's been around the block. He's from the Northeast. Maybe he ends up somewhere like a UConn, maybe. That's where his home state. So, I don't know exactly where the portal is here on April 1st. There's going to be some shakeups after spring practice, but
I was surprised I didn't see too many fake portal entries today on April Fools. Yeah. Maybe this is one. I don't think so, though.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, best of luck to this guy. He's a true veteran. He actually did not look to me very bad for Notre Dame in 2022. I mean, I don't think he was what Notre Dame fans wanted to be their starting quarterback. But you look at the numbers: 65% passer, 2,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 8 yards an attempt. I mean, those are pretty good numbers with a good offensive line and running game around him. So I think somebody can do something with Drew Pyne. Maybe it's somewhere in the Pacific, in the Atlantic, up in the Northeast, somewhere close to where he is from. But man, he's been in Notre Dame, he's been in Missouri, he's been over there at Arizona State, so he's been across the country. I'm sure he'll fit in wherever he can play ball. But I don't think it's a huge departure for Missouri, given that you really are going to have 3 quarterbacks in the mix. Bo likely the starter, Sam Horn competing, pushing, coming back from injury, and then Zollers also coming back from injury and having the tremendous developmental upside as a former basketball player. Just a really kind of exciting playmaker in Zollers.
Yeah, this wasn't necessarily a surprise, as we've alluded to, in terms of him entering the portal, but it will be interesting to track here over the next few weeks. Guys that we maybe penciled in as starters at potential locations, and things maybe aren't going too great during spring for them. They maybe see the writing on the wall, and then boom, someone transfers that you didn't expect to, and then it's not going to completely change the quarterback carousel, because a lot of these schools have to feel like they have their guy at this point. If not, they're probably in trouble. But guarantee you there's a good handful of Power 4 programs out there that are still probably saying we could add an experienced guy to the mix here, and it's going to be interesting to see which names do arise over the next few weeks.
Yeah, this is going to be talk about experience. You throw up 22 touchdowns in a season as a starting quarterback for Notre Dame, you're going to find a spot at least the G5 level, if not better. So I think he'll have an opportunity, but this battle right here, I don't think it was ever a great one for him, given that you had a guy entering his prime, looking to play a lot in Prebula. You have another not young player, but a player really with some time on the clock in Horn, and then of course the true freshman in Zollers. The timing, I don't think, worked out for Pyne here in this situation.
It does remind me a bit of Tyler Van Dyke's career trajectory. Had season in Miami and then has bounced around now a couple schools and look very fit in. Another Connecticut guy
right
there. So, kind of an interesting connection there, but we'll keep you updated here on Group Chat Sports. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This portal is about to heat up again. And there's some schools out there that probably feel like they're a player or two away from making a real push towards the playoffs. And we'll have you covered here. Thank you guys for watching today. Hit that like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.